Hello everybody, good afternoon. Today I'd like to record some of my sharings regarding one of my top powerful questions, which I ask myself among 100 actually questions, and then which I made selection according to priority and values, added value. Which top powerful question was, what can I do differently this year, 2023? And I recently put a post on LinkedIn. Some of you maybe, which are also my LinkedIn colleagues, have seen it. But today I'd like to elaborate on it. And I think this is important because this also shows, why I made such a decision, why I stepped actually into politics, and what this has to do, what politics has to do in my case with science and business as a scientist entrepreneur. So I've been a little bit also seeing what's been happening so far on LinkedIn as a motion actually of the article which was recently published in prestigious journal, scientific journal, actually Nature editorial, 19th of January 2023, PhD training is no longer fit for purpose, it needs reform now. I think this is also related to postdocs, which have very short time to perform their research and then settled. Academia doesn't offer really permanent jobs sufficient to actually raising numbers of PhD students globally in China, but also in Europe, in European countries. And I think the other thing is what I've seen that, and I can show you maybe this article here. I will also put it in the link so you can also have access of. But also costs and salaries of postdocs are very low, creating basically a cost of living crisis. Also in Europe, also including countries like UK, United Kingdom, but also other countries. And not only early career research, but I think also postdocs constantly report about chronic lack of support and poor quality supervision globally overall. And what really struck me that senior researchers, senior postdocs also rarely trained in mentorship, and racism and discrimination are systemic in academic culture in many places. So there's a lot of things which has to happen in academia, and to create especially brighter future for PhD students and postdocs in life sciences. That was actually my mission move to step into politics and become member of party D66. But from also perspective of entrepreneur and biologist, I always seen changes, and that's what you can already see in previous vlogs when I talked about boardroom and empowered role of legislation, where an increased percentage of women in the board of directors or company boards has been actually officially legislated, and that's a very important step because this process took already 10 years, and the legislation finally have been done through Ursula von der Leyen. And I also created already post about this and vlog, and I also put a link to this vlog there. But it's not about only emerging leadership, it's also for people who would like to develop as still academic scientists, step into, so make transition to industry and develop themselves as a leaders. But it's also about changing really structure at universities, and from perspective of being coach and Together is Better also vlog, which I showed or presented on YouTube before. Now I would like to turn a little bit about politics, and I know that some of you can hate politics, but I think politics has really important role, and we need to understand it also. It has important role in science and in business ecosystem. And I thought about some scheme regarding this influence. And I thought about sort of scheme which resemble structure of triangle. and I hope you can see it. I will shift it a little bit. I think it's visible, yes. So at the top corner we have politics. Here we have science. And I focus mainly here on academic science, although there is also science in business, industry, or business ecosystem. I hope you can see it well. I think yes. So this is the triangle where politics is in the top corner. And if you think about this, this has really important meaning because all the registration processes are happening actually and had to be legislated to change scientific or structure of academic institutions, so academia. Structure in academia, but also work culture, I just mentioned discrimination or racism have to definitely change. And especially when we have multinational labs, that has to really change. But also, importantly, if you think about science, also way of thinking has to change. And the mindset, agile mindset, which I so much advocate for, also would be great to be introduced. And what also needs to be changed here is changes in PhD programs, which are dimensions, and changes which are implicating mentorship programs for postdocs, for late-stage researchers, for highly skilled PhDs. And I would say so, before these people become scientists or become highly skilled PhDs, they have to have education, which is purpose, as this article, fit for purpose education. And in this education, there is a lot of gaps currently. Nature article actually is talking about that we have education from 19th century in Europe. I would not talk about education in the United States, but we definitely have it in Europe. And this has to change. And I think that's why politics is very important. And that's why I stepped into D66, because this is the political party, and I hope it is visible. I will make it a little bit higher. It's a political party which is investing in education. But when I was at the meeting, the New Year reception at the D66 in The Hague, and I met also the leader of D66, of course, she was talking about this, but also about other issues. But they want to invest also in education in the future. So I think that's what drives me also, and was driving me to make first step. And what I learned from my senior politicians during this New Year reception is that politics is about making decisions. I agree that making decisions is very important in leadership, also in leadership. But first of all, what is important is to create programs. To create brighter future for PhDs and PhD students, so highly skilled, in life sciences especially. And I will tell you actually why especially in life sciences, because if you consider that you have, after you did master, you decide to join and start your PhD, you are a PhD student. In my case, this was 4 years training, very extensive. I had a project which was focused on applying and in vitro biological systems, but also in vivo, so working with animals, with mice in my case. This was very extensive trainings, and it just not requires from you basic skills, but manual skills. So as a biologist, you are trained not only to set up hypothesis or aim of the project and ask research question in correct way, but you have to deliver. You have to deliver the data, and you have to empirically deliver and prove that your hypothesis is right or maybe wrong and has to be changed. And you have only time for 4 years for it. So this is a very extensive training of life sciences and requires enormous effort also from PhD students, not only from their supervisors, professors, which I think also should be here appreciated, highly appreciated for their role, but also PhD students. And the other thing is that also regarding publications, there is a huge push for PhD students to publish at least one paper, first author paper, and that believes me also its self-publishing process can be very long term, takes time. So there is a huge pressure on not only performing all the experiment, keep all the deadlines within 4 years, and UK that's even 3 years, so that's even worst I would say, but really becoming this highly trained scientist requires a lot of effort and a lot of skills from PhD students. So that's one of the most difficult, I believe, trainings when you work especially with animal models, and you have to deliver data in the end and publish. Definitely that's why this education, especially in life sciences, where there are gaps in mentorship, when there's insufficient even I talk about support sometimes, or discrimination or bullying, or red competition, which I already talked about. So work environment favors red competition. This is completely unacceptable, and work ethics is very important here to also keep it there. But there's a lot of gaps. Also, I talk about gaps in regarding entrepreneurship, because a lot of science is done. Of course, fundamental science is very important, but I think science should serve public in the end. And if we think about that, we want that our scientists are creating science which is useful for public. I think about model of scientist entrepreneur, which I am now, and we need in education also entrepreneurship. So we need to have in these programs for PhD students, but also for postdocs, to have it also as an offer. We also have to have a program which is having very attractive entrepreneurship education for PhD students and postdocs in life sciences, to make easier transition also to business ecosystem, to industrial science, if they're going to decide to make such move. And I know that there's a huge wave of disappointment, people leaving academia, PhD students, but also postdocs, because of all these issues which are already presented, and they were presented actually in Nature. So this is important piece, and this education, that's where I like to work on in Ministry for Higher Education, to create such programs for brighter future of PhD students and postdocs. If we think about business, it's very important to think in business, not just about business. It's not about only making money, and that time is the money. That's another time effective mechanism in business ecosystem, but also creating business models which are supporting transition of postdocs, or smoother transition of postdocs from academia to industry. And that also requires funding agencies and so on and so on. But in the end, all these things come all the way from politics. And that's why the politics has enormous role. Even nobody likes to hear politics talks or talk about politics. Politics is everywhere, and biasing is everywhere. So we need to realize how important it is to be engaged here at this stage, at the highest stage, for me at the Ministry of Higher Education, especially because also Minister of Education is also a member of the 66, so that makes things much easier. But also to realize, also my choice, I hope you now understand why I decided to join politics and create these programs at the political, basically, a political level, to create not only brighter future for PhD students and postdocs, and that's not only about, of course, Netherlands, but also this can be translated to other countries worldwide, but also help postdocs if they decide to join a business, because business offers way better conditions, including salaries, including employment conditions, permanent positions, which academia doesn't. There are only flex positions mainly for postdocs. So this is important to also create the smoother transition from postdocs, from academia to business. And academia itself, to stay up to date, need to undergo huge transformation. As you heard, we have 19th century in education, and now we have 20. We are few. I think this is a time really the highest time to change. If we think about the year, now we are in the year 2023. So thank you very much for listening. I will have special guests about thinking about role of entrepreneurship, education about entrepreneurship. I will have special guest, professor of entrepreneurship from United States in next coming vlogs. So stay tuned, and we will continue how to make this brighter future. And if you have any comments, any suggestions, please put it directly into the comments under this vlog. And I will see you, and looking forward to next vlog. Take care and see you next time. Bye.